We ready?
So,
Maybe could you have the speaker maybe showing? I'm only seeing Katie as the primary speaker
oh, yeah, let's
showing.
see here.
You know what I
It
mean?
looks like people are just starting to come in, so
Hi
we'll give it a
everyone. Thanks
minute.
for joining us.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah, welcome to our Northwest Women's Leadership Academy Lunch and Learn. And the topic is about being part of the academy. And we're really excited to have you here because it means you're kind of interested. We do have a poll we want to start off with, but first, let me take a moment to introduce myself. I am Julie Underwood. I'm the Deputy City Manager of Operations for the City of Kirkland. My background has mostly been in the city manager's office. So I've had a career on the East Coast, California, Washington, but my two city manager positions in the past have been City of Shoreline and City of Mercer Island. And so I'm excited. I'm here at the City of Kirkland being a lieutenant, so much better. But anyway, um, I'm I'm teasing, but it's wonderful to be here. And then my role with the academy is I help spearhead it, help get it launched through our Washington City management partners. And then I serve as a board president. Super excited to have Stephanie Lacache here. She is interim city manager of Kenmore. She can give you a little background about herself, but she runs our entire recruitment and selection process, which is again, very, very competitive. We are only typically accept about 50% of those who apply. So she has a tough job, her and her committee have a tough job, and she's going to give you, I think, some really helpful information about it. So Stephanie, introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Julie. It's so great to be here with you all. And the Northwest Women's Leadership Academy is one of my passions. I'm such a big
Yeah.
fan, and I have been since we had this idea before it was even a
Yeah.
thing, right? And so here we are, Cohort 7.
Ah,
Recruitment is underway. So I'm interim city manager at the city of Kenmore. I was part of Cohort 1 of the academy, and in large part because we saw for years before that the need for this. And when it first became an idea, and then we had a cohort coming, it was funny. I was sending all the people I know the information about it, and then long story short, I decided to apply myself and be in the cohort so I could experience it as a cohort participant. And then from day one of my cohort experience, I knew I wanted to be part of the leadership of the group for a long time to come. And just because it's so important to me, this work that we're doing for the profession, for local government, and we're better in organizations when we have strong women in leadership positions. And just feel that's a foundational piece of who I am as a leader and how I show up. And so I've been the recruitment and selection committee chair. This will be my 4th year doing this work. I'm very excited about this. I take it really seriously. The committee is fantastic that I get to work with, and just excited to share with you all more about what happens through the process, a little bit more about the academy for folks who are maybe on the fence. We'll see a poll in a minute to find out why you're here. If you're here because you already know you're going to apply, or if you're thinking about it, or you're just curious, we welcome you all and hope that today's session is really valuable and gives you some information that will help you make a decision, or will give you more information to help you be successful, hopefully, as an applicant. And as Julie said, it's very competitive. We'll talk about that. But I also think that it's an experience to apply for things you don't always get. And so I will also say, we'll talk about this later, but I think it's really important for if you're thinking about it, there's no harm in applying. And I'll help you think about through this presentation how to do that, hopefully successfully. So happy to be here and just really excited about this work and what's happening with recruitment.
Steph, do you want to start with the poll?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So this should be pretty easy. So are you planning to apply? Are you thinking to, like, you've decided you're going to apply? So that's that first bullet. And the, hey, I'm not sure, I'm thinking about it bullet. So cast your vote. tell us who we're talking to today? Let's see. Okay. Oh,
Okay.
nice. 50-50.
Yeah. Pretty even
Cool.
split.
Yeah,
Love
it is.
it.
Thanks. All right. Okay. So with that, Stephanie, do you want to provide maybe just kind of an overview about the criteria, kind of, yeah, what the whole, thank you, you're prepared. Never mind. Go
I
ahead.
am. Yeah. So can you all see that? You can see my slides.
I can. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. And so what I thought I'd do is run through, I prepared some slides on the recruitment process, hopefully, and I did see that there were questions that people submitted in advance. So thank you for that. I feel like we've addressed most of those in the presentation, but we will have time at the end for questions that didn't get answered, or if you have a new question that comes up, I think we'll be monitoring the chat and happy to answer those questions as we go. So I'm, as I mentioned, Stephanie Lukash. I'm interim city manager, City of Kenmore, and I am the chair of the recruitment and selection committee for the academy. There we go. Okay, so what I want to do today, we will go over a little bit of background and overview of the academy. We'll talk about the recruitment process as part of that, and then I want to introduce you to the recruitment and selection committee members. They're a fantastic bunch. I'm really excited to get the privilege to work with them again this year. We do have one new member. Talk about that. And then I'll give you an overview of the selection process at a glance. And then I'll talk about tips for a successful application, and then give you a chance to, we'll talk about applying, which is happening now, and then a chance for you to get your questions answered as we go. All right, so background on the academy. So, and Julie mentioned this. So the Washington City County Management Association is where the academy was born. And it was really about wanting to increase the pipeline of women in city management, city administrator positions was the original goal. But it was also, as we've grown and as we've worked through and looked at the actual applicants and the experience in the academy, it has grown to say it's also about women and non-binary individuals in leadership positions in local government. So it's the top seat, yes, but also thinking about, and we saw this in our participants, that they were saying not all of them have that goal or aspiration to be a city manager or city administrator, but some of them want to be department heads or other leadership positions in local government. So we have evolved our target since the inception of the academy. The first cohort was in 2018, 2019, and now here we are, fast forward to 2025, we're recruiting for cohort 7, and more than 200 graduates have come through the academy. And it's hard to explain how game-changing the academy is for people. And we've seen it. We actually, in a separate presentation that we were just talking about this, I'll do later this year, we have some data. We had a group of graduate students do a survey and focus groups, and we learned how game-changing this is for women and non-binary individuals who participated in terms of career advancement, salary increases, promotions, opportunities that have come from networking. And so it's really an important piece of this that can't be understated, is how game-changing it is. So if you're on the fence, one of that group, the other half who's thinking about it, I can seriously would consider applying. And the format has evolved over time, because if you can imagine, 2018, 2019, we were all in person. We did all day Fridays. And then it evolved with the pandemic, and cohort 2 had to pivot, and we took 2 years to graduate cohort 2 because of the pandemic. And now we've settled into post-pandemic, an in-person kickoff retreat in the fall, virtual sessions October through March, and then an in-person graduation in March is kind of where we've landed as we've evolved as an academy. So I want to talk a little bit about the program at a glance and what the objectives are. And Julie talked about some of this, but it's 3 main things. So it's competency. So it's about looking at a cohort of women and non-binary individuals from a whole host of local governments from across the state, large, small counties, cities, other local governments, and helping them giving them opportunity to learn content that will help them build some core skills and help them advance in their careers. And then a second piece that we see so often with women is confidence. So building confidence and helping women learn more about themselves and their styles and helping them through the experience build confidence that helps them grow their careers. And then the networking that is so key to successful career advancement and is such an important part of the academy. And it was always something that we talked about, how important it is for women to network. And traditionally, we haven't, as women, done this super well over decades. And so this is something that we're really working on hard with the academy, is the networking piece. And I think it's a really important part of what we see when graduates talk about how they look back on their experience. The network is always a big part of what they say. So the format, so I mentioned it. So we've settled into this overnight kickoff, the virtual sessions, and an in-person graduation. The curriculum, there are several topics that we've honed over the 7 cohorts now that have been through the academy. A topic on know yourself. So learning about your style, your leadership style, learning more about how you show up in conflict, how you show up in organizations and as a leader. Know your community is another topic that several sessions cover. Know your money. So budgeting, finance are key skills to succeed in local government. Overcoming barriers is a topic. I know Julie has often taught that topic, and it's a really important one that we address and think about how, as the unique experience of women in government and the barriers that we face and how to overcome those. The confidence, as I talked about, building confidence. Get the job, so tangible skills, resume, interviewing, recruitment, kind of debunking some myths and things around applications, and do you need every skill on the application before you can apply? The answer is no, but working through that. And then there's a graduation. And then the other big piece of the experience is, and this evolved as a group project that is a pitch that the small groups of 6 will work together on a potential session at the Washington City County Management Association conference, which is in August. And each year we've had a group of academy graduates present, and the content has been phenomenal. And we're excited to see where this continues to go. We reserve a session at the conference for this. And I think it's a really great experience for one group gets picked. All the groups pitch. One group gets selected, and then they prepare over from March until August a session, and then they co-present it at the conference. And yeah, excited to see the session again this year. I did want to talk about the time commitment and expectation. I saw some questions about this, and I think it's really important that this is a time commitment. Participation in the academy, it's competitive. We have a ranked wait list. So we want to make sure that cohort members understand that they're expected to regularly attend all the sessions. And I'll talk about this later, but we do have a deferment option, because sometimes you might get accepted and then you realize this is not the best year for me to participate in this academy. And so we do have a 1-year deferral, kind of like you can take a gap year of college, kind of the same thing, or you can defer for a year. And we do every year have women take us up on that deferment, because we want to make sure that every slot is taken by someone who can fully participate in the academy. It's a really important part of the small groups and the group as a whole, their experience. All right, so here is the recruitment and selection committee. So happy to share. So myself, as chair of the committee, we have Maribel Centeno from the city of Seattle. She's a new member of the committee. She's just joined this year. Looking forward to having her on board. Jennifer Ferrero-Sanz-Ennis from the city of Marysville, Belinda Morrison from King County, Gwen Volpel, who just left city of SeaTac, but she has been with the city of SeaTac for years. She's an incredible member of the committee as well. And then we have Ref Tellis, and I'd be remiss if I didn't put a shout out to Ref Tellis. So if you've looked at the application portal, it lives on the Ref Tellis platform. They're a full service consulting firm that does recruiting. And Robert Colicchio is our contact with Raftellus, and he does all of the troubleshooting and application assistance if someone's having trouble with their video uploading, that sort of thing. He is there to help with that. So this is the committee, and this committee is a phenomenal group and works really hard. And June especially is the peak for this group as the applications come in, and then we review them. So I'll be talking a little bit more about that, but I want you all to see this amazing group, and I thank them all for their participation on this committee. Okay, so the selection process at a glance. So what I thought it'd be helpful is to just kind of run through, so what does this look like at a glance? So there is an online application, and as I mentioned, it's there's a link in here, and these slides will be available to you later, but it lives on the Raftellus portal. You can also get to it from the Women's Leadership Academy website page. And so what the application asks for is some basic application information about who you are, where you work. You have to be working in local government currently. So this is not an academy for elected officials or for individuals who work for a state or federal government or for the military. Every year we have a few people from those other branches of levels of government that ask, and unfortunately this is a local government academy. So that's really important, and it's not for elected officials. We get that question every year as well. So basic information on who you are, a resume, essay questions that are brief. So the application portal allows you to go on. There's no way to limit the characters, but we do ask. It's 300 characters. It's short. And so I did see a few questions about that. What if I go slightly over? Well, okay, that's fine, but we're not looking for novels, and you will, that will not be favorably seen by the committee if you go well beyond the character limits, because this is part of what we're looking for is succinct. How do you answer those questions in a brief way? And then elevator speech video. It's a 30-second video. And I will say every year people get hung up on this. And I will say it's an important skill to develop. And I'm happy to chat with anybody who needs help with that. But it's just, the question is, tell us about yourself and why you want to participate in the academy. So I just encourage you to, think about from the heart, authentically, what are your reasons for this, and to not think too hard about it. We're not looking for television quality videos or anything. We're just wanting you to talk about yourself, and we want to get a sense of your why for the academy in that video. Applications are due on May 26th at 11:59 p.m. And you may laugh and think, well, what does that mean? And I always see every year that we'll get people who submit the next day. And it's just like, oh, my friends, this is just like anything else. Like, please get your applications in on time, and 11:59, it's real. So there's a deduction for late applications. So making sure you know that. So the Recruitment and Selection Committee, who you saw earlier in the earlier slide, they do their work in June. So we receive all the applications. Robert from Raftellus, he helps kind of collate everything into this kind of master spreadsheet for all of us. And then we do our selection process, and it takes weeks. The whole month of June is really reserved for that recruitment and selection process. And then we will make our selection by early July. And then there's a process where cohort members need to confirm their participation and make sure that they've been accepted, but are they ready to participate fully? And the deferment process then begins. And every year, like I said earlier, we have a few people who do defer their enrollment for different reasons. We do have some limited scholarship assistance available. We've never turned anyone away because their agency couldn't pay. And so we process those in July. That scholarship need is not a factor in the selection process, but it is something that we look at the tail end to make sure we do have the Association of Washington Cities and the Washington City County Management Association have been big supporters of scholarships. And then we also have Holman Capital, a sponsor who also has some scholarship donation money that we will be using this year for any scholarship assistance that's needed. But it's limited, and it really is about those who truly need those dollars. And then we confirm the final cohort by late July or early August. And you can see there's some screenshots of the application process. It's too small for you to see, but when you go onto the Raftellus portal, that's what you'll see. All right, so tips for a successful application. And some of these are just common sense, and some of them I'll talk a little bit more about. The don't procrastinate, as I mentioned, it's always painful to see someone who submits just a few hours after the deadline. I mean, we know we have a deadline for a reason, so please be on time. And we do deduct points for late applications, so please be on time. And then another thing I sometimes see is really brief, just a phrase or a sentence answer to the essay questions. And I would say it's really hard to be accepted into the academy if you aren't able to give a complete answer on each of the essay questions. They're 300 characters, so we're not talking novels, but do use those characters. And what I will say is speak authentically and honestly from your heart of why this academy experience is important to you. Part of the questions is about why do you want to do this? Tell us about your career plans. Where do you want to go in your career? And just be, answer them with a little bit of detail. I mean, I think that's what we're looking for. And I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls I see is people they just have a phrase, and it's just not enough for the committee to really understand their why. We want to know your why and how you see an academy like this will help you in your career, in your progression, even where you currently are, and helping you be more successful in your current job. And I think that's one of the things I see the most is just those too short answers that don't give us enough information as a committee. And then you have to submit your video. I don't think there's ever been an applicant who has been successfully admitted to the academy who didn't submit their video, because you get a 0 in that entire section. And it's just, it's almost, I think it's impossible to overcome that. So you have to submit a video. And again, we're not looking for some TV quality, professionally produced thing. It's just a quick, we're all on Teams meetings. We're on a meeting like this right now. So it's just, on your computer, 30 seconds. Well, why do you want to do this? And I would say with your video, don't just totally wing it. I would say, think about what you want to say and what you want to convey your why is. And I'm not saying write out a script and read it. That's not great. But just have a sense of what you want to convey and be authentic in doing it. I think the best videos are people who speak truthfully about their experience. And sometimes people will share things about challenges they've had in their career. And that's one of the essay questions gets to some of the challenges you faced. Be honest about those. I mean, I think everybody on the committee, and I think all of us in this local government profession have had challenges. And I think that's part of what the academy is here to address. So tell us about some of that. And then I would also say, it's competitive, and Julie mentioned this. It's about a 2-to-1 ratio, applicants to accepted cohort members. And so find a way to stand out. And so in your essay answers, in your video, show your brand. And I feel like successful applicants tend to be those who it's clear they have thought about this, why this is important to them, and they're wanting to do this because they think this will be an important step in their career and help them progress. And then I will also say every year we have applicants, because it's so competitive and we have a ranked wait list, and it's really those on the margins, it's super painful, but we have to draw a line at 36 every year. And there will always be people who don't make it into the academy on their first try. And I will also say every year we have applicants who applied in previous years, either the year before or maybe the past 2 years, who then apply a second or third time and make it in every year. So if you don't get in the first time you apply, please don't be deterred, and I know it's frustrating and it's okay to feel the frustration, but also just know that you're in good company and that we are here to coach and support and give advice. So every year that the entire selection committee, I reach out to all those who didn't make it in, and we offer an opportunity to talk to one of the committee members to get advice on your application. And I have seen that work where we've had applicants get advice from a committee member, and then they apply the next year and make it in. So I would say, I know it's disappointing, but don't be deterred. And I just encourage folks to apply the next year. And maybe there's some of you on this call who've applied in previous years and haven't gotten in. And I would say, apply again. I mean, that's what we're doing here. And we're here to support you. It's part of why I'm doing this, right? Is to help, give you information to help encourage you to have a successful application, and to just let you know that it's competitive and not everybody gets in, and it's also okay to apply more than once. So the application portal is open now. And one of the things I would also say, and I track it with Robert from Rough Tellis. And so it's always funny, and Julie will laugh when I say this, but every year with the selection committee, about a week or two in, I start to go, oh my gosh, like, where are all the applicants? Oh no, what's happening? Every year, it's a routine.
You do.
Now,
Every year you do.
Every year. I kind of have this panic moment, like, we only have 2 applicants and it's week 1. And then what always happens at the very end is this huge rush, and everybody tends to apply really late. So I would just say, do what's right for you, but maybe save me a little stress and apply early. No, I'm kidding. No, apply at the time that's right for you. But I would say that typically what we see is people are thinking about it and then they apply right at the end. Now, the one thing that can be a little bit of a challenge if you wait till the very last minute is the video is a separate submission. So you apply on the portal and you click submit, and then there's a separate link to do your video. So I would say, don't wait till the very last day, because we've had that happen where it's the evening of the last day and then you're having trouble with your video. And I just don't want anyone to have that experience, because it's super frustrating and there may not be anyone to help you at 10 o'clock at night on the night that it's due. So if I would encourage you to apply. If you know you're going to apply and you've been thinking about it, I would say go ahead and just put your application in, and then you have time, because it's separate, to get your video in. That comes second. So the application portal is open now, and I just hope that many of you on this call decide to apply. So there you go. So I wanted to make sure we had time for questions and answers, and this, I think, will be the fun part. So I'm wondering, Julie, are there questions or questions that came in earlier that I didn't answer?
Yeah. So one question, and maybe you alluded to this, but maybe you can elaborate. What makes an application really stand out? I mean, what does the committee look for to when you're thinking about the cohort and the composition and all of that? What are you looking for?
Absolutely. Well, and that's one of the things that we've talked about. And when you see the application, you'll see we're asking, tell us about your years of experience. So we're looking for early, mid, and late career applicants, because we think that having a robust and well-rounded cohort makes for a better experience. So we have a mix of people who've been in local government for a long time, maybe people who are newer to local government, maybe this is your first job and you're, in local government. And so that's one piece of it. We're looking for racial diversity. We're looking for non-binary individuals are welcome to apply. And we also look for statewide representation, because this is really important. There tends to be, if you look at where applicants have come from, there's the Central Puget Sound. We're so dense in terms of so many local governments. And we see a lot of applications from the Central Puget Sound, and please apply from the Central Puget Sound. But we're also wanting to make sure we get representation from Eastern Washington, from the Olympic Peninsula, from Southwest Washington, from Southeast Washington, Central Washington. So we do make an effort to put the word out to applicants from all kinds of organizations, local governments from across the state of Washington. And that is something that we're wanting to think about in terms of the cohort, is making sure we get representation from all corners of the state, and that it's a mix of early, mid, and late career applicants who bring different levels of experience and different perspectives to the academy experience.
Great. And then do you have any tips for developing? Because the video does seem to be a thing, In fact, I was thinking through this, I was like, I should do my own little sample video and post it on our LinkedIn page. So you guys might see me do that and put myself out there. But anyway, when developing the video, what tips do you have? I mean, are you looking for, what's the right length? And I guess I'm just curious about that. Like, when you are blown away by a video, what particularly makes that impressionable for you?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. So I would say, I mean, the first thing is think about it first. I would
Uh-huh.
say, sometimes you see videos when you think that person really didn't think about it. They just sort of went on
Like,
and sort of talked off the cuff
winged
and
it too
a little bit,
much?
a little bit winged it. Yeah. And I'm not saying we want it overly scripted either, but there's
Okay.
the right balance between, okay, why do I want to do, what is my why? And
Mhm.
think about that and maybe jot some thoughts down and think about what you're going to say. And then I would also, and then record authentically, from your heart, why and why you want to do this. And I think the other thing I would say is that think about the presentation of your video. I feel like sometimes what happens is, sometimes someone will be in like a t-shirt and sort of like you just,
Oh, a
so
little cash.
a little
Yeah.
casual. And, again, we're not overly formal here, but I think it's, if you were in a leadership position and you were recording a video for something or you're interviewed online or whatever, think about what you would wear for that. And
Uh-huh.
so, put on a jacket or a nice sweater or whatever. I mean, we're not trying to be overly, prescriptive, but I think it's
Gotcha.
practice for how do you want to show up when you're talking about yourself, you're selling yourself. Like this isn't, like a job interview, but it's sort of like that, right? You're
Sure.
presenting your best
Yeah.
self. And so how do you want to present yourself? So, how
Great.
do you appear and how are you like dressed in a way that conveys confidence and that, you are serious about wanting to
Yeah.
do this. So I would say those two things, kind of be prepared, think about what you want to say. Don't read it though, because I know we have
Yeah.
had sometimes, and then this person's looking down the whole time reading, and you're like,
Oh
oh, my
my God.
friend, that I appreciate that, and
Yeah.
this is stressful, but like you also want to be looking at the camera and
So,
conveying your brand and how you.
Stephanie, when you said your why, what do
Yeah,
you mean by that?
yeah. I mean, why would this academy be the
Oh,
right fit for you right now?
okay.
So what
Okay.
about your career? What are you thinking in your career? Where do you want to
Okay.
go? How do you
Okay.
see this would be helpful? You know, um,
Okay.
and the other thing I would say that we sometimes see in the videos is, so and so recommended that I apply, and so I apply. Well, that's really not your why. That's the other person's why.
Ah,
So
gotcha.
I would say that's kind of a pitfall we sometimes see. So I would say refrain from that. I mean,
Okay.
that's great. And you can thank that person. Thank you for recommending me. And that is a
Yeah.
big, anybody,
So,
yeah, that matters, testimonials and recommendation.
So
But
that is a question we have in the
yeah,
Q&A stuff. It says one person said, "Hey, I heard from a previous participant they recall a recommendation letter being part of the application." I don't, is that? I didn't think
no,
so. Yeah, okay.
no,
Okay. We
no,
early on, I mean, just for those who are not aware, early on when we set up the academy, we very much did not want this to be nominated by city managers and because the fear there is, um, you know, if you're several layers down in an organization, I mean, that manager may not know you, and it's intimidating to go to them and say, "Hey, could you recommend me?" And and so we really wanted it to be more a be your own self advocate, really.
yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, that's a great question. Okay, is there a certain allotment of applications accepted for
Yes.
each career level, or is it more
Oh,
about making that
oh, sorry.
mix?
No. So no, there isn't a set allotment of
There's no like
mid-career or
quota. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
there are no quotas. It really is about scoring. So,
Okay.
each of the essay questions is scored, the video is scored.
Okay.
There's some other, kind of information that's scored, and then it's a total score, and then we just literally look and we rank, and it's down to like the 0.2 or 0.1. I mean, literally, it could at the end when it's
Yeah.
that the 36, then 37, right?
Okay, gotcha,
And
gotcha.
every year there are always a few people who defer, and this year was no different. So we have a few people deferring from last year. So it really isn't 36, it'll be
Oh.
30, 2 or
Okay,
so.
okay. Mhm.
Yeah.
And then, love this question. What level of creativity should the video be? More straightforward or more of our
Oh.
personality? I know.
Well, I mean, I think that's up to you. I mean, I think there is something about a video that stands out, right?
Mhm.
And so I would say, yeah, if your authentic self, and your brand is going to be something that's more creative, and I mean, do that. I think there's
Mhm.
I would say be yourself and show us who you are in that video. And if your why includes something really creative. I know we've had a few people that are communications professionals. I'm like, okay, their
Yeah.
videos totally rock because they're really good at this already, but
Yeah.
that's not the standard for everybody. It's
Okay.
sometimes you
Yeah.
see there are certain people who clearly have a lot of practice.
Yeah. So it can look DIY. That's fine,
Absolutely,
right?
can be
Yeah.
DIY. I mean, just record it at your desk where you do your work. You're on this call. I mean, it doesn't have to be you don't have to go anywhere fancy or anything. It's
Yeah.
just the main thing is it's really what you say and how
Yeah.
compelling you are and how authentic you are about, because that's the
Mhm.
thing. We want the Academy participants to really get something really tangible out of it. And we talked
Mhm.
about, the curriculum earlier and some of the things that the objectives of the Academy. But in your
Mhm.
video, you can talk about like what for you is compelling about this and how you see it
Yeah.
would be really helpful. Maybe it's the network is the part that you really feel like would be some of those core skills that you're
Yeah.
feeling like I just don't have those yet and I want to develop or whatever it is. Everybody's story is different. And I would
I
say,
know I know that we've had in the past participants really say to us that where the academy came in was really on the confidence, building the
yes.
confidence and
Mhm.
having that team of folks around them that were super encouraging and supportive and so I
Yes.
think that is that can be the answer too. That can be the why, right?
Yes.
Hey, I'm trying to
Mhm.
oh, this question, is there um, any focus for certain departments or projected career paths within local government? And that is where we started, right, Stephanie?
It is. Yeah, I briefly talked about that. I mean, that was at the beginning of the Academy. It was really about the top seat and saying we want more women in city
Yeah.
manager, city administrator positions. And that's when I come back and do the capstone session, we'll talk about more about that because
Okay.
there's a huge problem. We're still trying to solve it. I mean, we're not even close
Right.
to being there yet. I mean, it's like,
Right.
and so that's a piece of this is more women in the top seat, but it
Yes.
also evolved. And it was, I mean, several of us were there in
Yeah.
Yakima in 2022. And we got together and we said, here's what we're seeing with the
Yeah.
Academy is we're seeing there are many applicants and participants who are in the Academy who are saying, hey, I have no aspiration to be a city manager, but I want to be a Parks and Rec director, or I want to be a deputy city manager or a fire chief, or any number of leadership positions. And we did pivot and we said, we're listening. And so
Yeah.
we did make adjustments to the curriculum because of that. And so
Yeah.
it's both. It's an and. And I said at the beginning, and I will say it again, we're better off in organizations and local government when we have more women and non-binary individuals in leadership positions at all levels, on leadership teams, in deputy roles. It's really important. And that's what this is all about. So yeah, we did listen and we pivoted. But
And
yes.
we do, just for those who aren't aware, the Academy does have a strategic plan, and our vision in that strategic plan is gender balanced leadership teams in local government. So,
Exactly.
we don't have we're the better gender, or, we don't have that attitude. That's not what we're talking about. We're really talking about, balance. We're talking about, not having workplaces that are all male dominated in these leadership positions. So some balance.
Exactly.
Okay, let's see. I've got some more questions. Let's see. If committee member, this is a interesting one about the wait list, Stephanie. How many
Mhm.
people are usually on it? Like, do you have a number for this year that were on it? How many applicants are you going to be accepting this year? I think you said,
Yeah, so it's 36 slots in each cohort. And so the cohort will consist of 36 people. And so
Mhm.
what I do is that I rank the entire list all the way to the very bottom. So, if you assume it's, say we get 70 applicants this year, that's about average-ish, right? We'll rank them all the way 1 to 70. And so,
Okay.
that's how that works. And then, there's a line drawn at 36. So then you'll
Okay.
have number 37. And so what
Okay.
I do is I reach out. So I take the top 10 or 15 and I'll reach out specifically to them and say, here's where you are on the wait list. And then I'll take the very bottom group and say, thank you for applying.
Okay.
This isn't your year. And what I mentioned before, and we do this, I say, if you would like feedback on your application, how to help you be successful in a future application, let me know. And every year we have people who take us up on that. And I get the whole committee
I
involved.
love that.
And we all take I forward and we all take turns like reaching out to folks and having conversations because we can speak specifically to the application. We can look at the portal and say,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
here you had like a phrase in each of your answers in the
Okay.
essay questions and it wasn't enough content for us.
Okay.
Or
So
your
you can
video.
be very precise
Yeah,
about,
exactly.
oh,
Or your
good.
video was really short and talked about the person who recommended you the whole time and didn't talk about you. These are just examples of things we do.
Okay.
And so,
Okay.
that's what we do. And so, and so what I'll do, and every year we have
Uh-huh.
a handful of people who defer. And so there's
Okay.
movement off of the wait list up in, so
Oh,
every year.
sure. That makes
So
sense.
if you're number 37 or 38, you have a really high chance of getting
Got
into
it.
the academy. And so I'll let them know you're number 1 on the wait list. And
Okay.
so
Gotcha.
that person will know number 2, number 3, all the way down to, it just depends on how many we get and kind of where we're at. We also, like I said, we have a handful of people that were in the deferred from last year. And so I'll reach out to all. I've had one of them already reach out to me and say, and I'm like, yes, you're in. And I will go back to all of those people and just confirm they still want to do it this year.
Okay. Got it.
And then,
so right now
yeah.
you don't quite know the exact number because you have to still do that, right?
Yeah, one of them has confirmed and that's on
Okay.
my to-do list before we close the process of
Okay.
recruitment to reach
How
out.
many
So I
did you-
know.
How many deferrals did we have this past year?
Yeah, I think it was 5.
Wow.
It was
Okay.
4 or 5. And we've
Okay.
always had at least 3 every
Okay.
year. It varies,
Yeah.
3, 4, I think 5 might be the most we've had. And I'm trying
Mhm.
I should have looked at that to see, but
Mhm.
that's
Okay.
on my list. But yeah, so those, I'll reach out to all of those people and say, hey, you were deferred from last year. Like there's one case where somebody left local government. So for example, that person,
Oh.
it'll be, are you back in working in local government? Because if you're not eligible
Yeah.
to participate.
Gotcha.
So there's some work involved in that piece of it that's on
Mhm.
my end. And then what I'll do is the first few slots in the new cohort will go to those deferrals.
Okay, I hear you. Oh,
Yeah,
this
kind
is
of
a very
manage it.
interesting question, Stephanie. If committee members are from our agency, do they recuse themselves from the selection or only if they know or work with us? Has that come
Oh,
up?
it has come up. And no, I mean, what we do is, this is just like if you've been ever on an interview
Like a regular
panel.
interview? Yeah.
Yeah, we just say, we look at everybody the same.
Mhm.
We're very neutral. We have a
Mhm.
scoring process and I always go through, with the committee and like there's a new
Mhm.
member this year. So I'll go through with her and make sure she's fully briefed on sort of so we
you
all
do
do
it.
it the exact same way. We look at it the same way. And then,
Yeah.
yeah. So
This is a technical question. Is the character limit with or without spaces?
I think it's with spaces.
Spaces. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
And I have had every year people say, I went a few over. I'm like, it's fine. Like, no, but we don't want anyone to take advantage of it and write a big thing because that's
Okay.
a different issue. Because there's just a limit in the Raftellus portal. They can't limit it to the short thing we want. And so you
yeah.
could go on and we're
Yeah.
not going to cut you off at, you're a few characters over of like
I
3
getcha.
words. But
Yeah.
if you write like a 2 or 3 extra paragraphs, that's going to not be favorable because then you're trying to take advantage of the situation. So, this is not fair to other applicants who follow the rules. So
Gotcha.
we might just read the first part. So if you do that, there's a danger. We're probably just going to read the first 300, the first paragraph. And so,
so along the same lines, is the video exactly 30 seconds? Can you go up to 35? Is there some little bit of wiggle room?
There's a little bit of wiggle room.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
But I would say, we sometimes see people with the video and it's just really short. Like, take advantage of the 30 seconds, like make sure you make the use of it because we want to get to know you. And it's your only chance other than in words to convey why you're interested.
Yeah. So, this is a good question. I'm a newcomer to local gov. I want to be a department head, but not sure which department since I'm a new, I'm beginning my career. Will points be deducted if there is less specific career goals or vision? Is it okay to dream big in that answer?
Okay. I love that question. And I would say no. I think what I would say is be authentic with where you're at in your career right now. And say, I'm new to local government. We are looking for people who are committed to local government. So I think if someone said, I really want to move into the private sector and do so, that would probably, you can say, if that's your authentic answer, you can say that. And if you're currently working in local government now, but that's a risk because we really are looking for people who are saying, hey, I'm committed to working in public service and local government. And here's why. And I think it's perfectly reasonable to say I'm new in my local government career and I am not sure where I want to go exactly. But I hear this is part of why is the Academy can help me figure some of that out.
I think that's great. And I also think too, why do you want to lead? Get really, comfortable with why is this compelling you? Why are you wanting to be a leader? Because guess what? Not everyone does. Not everyone does. So
that's fine.
making sure you know why you want to do it, I think it's going to be important too. So maybe you don't know what department, that's totally fine. But still the fact that you want to head a department is a pretty big deal and it's wonderful. And we need a lot more women than we have. So it's good. Okay. And then on average, Stephanie, I think you might have answered this question, but maybe bears repeating. On average, how many applications do you receive?
Yeah, it's usually about double. So 70,
65, 70.
65, 70, 75. It might've been 72 last year. That's always right in the range. But like I say, it's always very funny because it comes into the final week and and then it's a big rush every time. So that's just the nature of it. And I think maybe it's just human nature that we wait until toward the end to submit. But
one of the things we do often when we do walk, talk, and dines, we do in-person events, we always kind of go around the room and say, which cohort were you? So Stephanie, she mentioned it at the top of the hour. She's in cohort 1. So Stephanie, one of the questions is, what would you say was your biggest takeaway from your cohort?
And
love it. Of course, there's probably many, but can you name one that is your favorite?
Network. For sure. Well, and Julie, you're part of that. My posse of women.
That's when you and I met, was you going to cohort 1, and it was like, oh my God, she's one to watch, right? So I just think it is the network. It is, right? So important. Let's see. I think I read somewhere that the commitment to local government should be limited to Washington State. Is that correct? Oh, I don't think so.
No, obviously we want to keep good people in Washington.
Of course we do.
Of course, but if you look at graduates and we did do this, it was funny when we had the capstone team, it was a graduate team last year and we were doing a survey. So I was I took a Saturday, spent my entire Saturday sleuthing down where all the graduates were so we could get email addresses. And you could see California, we had somebody who moved to Nevada, Oregon, people had taken promotions in other good for them, you know, absolutely happy for them. So it's not, we're not saying no, that's not something we would ask. That's a personal choice.
Yeah, but we're
But we want you to
pro Washington, but
of course,
yes.
Washington's the best. I mean,
Yeah. See. Okay. Hi, Maureen. Maureen works for City of Kirkland. And so she's asked this question. I think it looks like on the application, it says, hey, where do you see your career in 15 years? But you know, if you're someone who's kind of like, well, that might be, I'm going to be retired. Like, is there, maybe could she answer a question that's like, where would you be before retirement? Where would you be? You know, can you modify that question instead of 15 years? Maybe it's, you know, something shorter than 15.
Well, every year we have people who say, you know, I plan to be retired in 15 years. And we have
Oh,
late
okay.
career, and I think it's fine to say that. But what I would say is, so tell us about in the next however many years until you retire, how you see the academy being helpful to you in your career, you know, however many years you plan to still work. I would just be honest and just talk about that. And every year we have late career people in the cohort, and they have answered that authentically, and it's not going to ding you that you're, you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
And
if you're retiring in 6 months, well, this probably isn't for you, you know, but if you're 10 years away or whatever, 15, 12 years away.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So here's a fun fact. We have had just about 75 different agencies go through the academy. I just had our intern can help us figure this out.
It's awesome.
And so the question here is, do you know if, you know, our agency will provide funding? In particular, a lot of the agencies, there's again been 75 agencies that have provided funding. Kirkland is definitely one. Kirkland, I'm really proud and honored to report that we've had, 9 graduates go through the academy. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the answer is maybe you want to check, right, Stephanie? Maybe check with your supervisor in advance of, hey, if I get selected, will you support this? I think that's really something you want to talk to your supervisor about. But in a lot of cases, again, agencies have stepped up here and provided the support and provided the funding.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and yes, and I think Prince answered the question. There are, and Stephanie did too, there are some limited scholarships. Typically, right, Stephanie, we're talking for little small, you know, agencies, you know, like probably in the $1 to $2 million budgets. Typically, they really struggle, and that is something we feel very committed to access across the whole state. We want to provide to we want this to be available to local govs all over the state of Washington.
Yeah, we've never turned anyone away because they couldn't pay. And what you'll see, it's part of the so it's part of the original application. Will you need scholarship assistance? And that is something that information is received, but we don't actually consider that as part of the recruitment and selection process. That doesn't come in until later, once we've ranked and looked at, okay, here are the 36 people. And then I do a cross-reference, okay, which of them requested scholarship assistance and how much is that? And then there is a confirmation. And at the confirmation point is when you're confirming how much do you actually need.
Okay.
So we do a lot of partial scholarships, which I think that's most common. It's pretty rare to do a full, the tuition this year will be $1,250. It's pretty rare to do a full scholarship, but we have a very rarely, and there was a clerk treasurer from a tiny town.
Yeah.
And we gave that person a full scholarship, and they were amazing, you know, in the academy. And so those are the kinds of examples for full scholarships. So it would be probably if you're unless you're from a tiny town like that, I would say, you know, you're looking at probably a partial scholarship.
Okay.
And just, this would be something to talk about with your supervisor, what training funds are available. And then just, you know, if you really do need a full scholarship, ask for it, but we can't always guarantee it because it does depend on how many we get. And again, we haven't ever turned anyone away, and there's been no one who said, because of money, I can't do this now.
Yeah.
We'll work with you. But
one of the things that is really, really cool that I think we started doing a few years back, but the off-site retreat that's in person. So,
yeah,
and is that when we also put folks in their small teams? Because that's another way, right, to
Mhm.
kind of get a little more intimate and to build a
Yes.
strong, trusting rapport with a smaller group. How big are those groups? Do you know? Are
There's
they
6 people. So we have
okay?
36 in the cohort and 6
Okay.
groups of 6. And
Six
those,
groups of six.
yeah, and
Okay.
you'll meet your small group for the first time at the kickoff retreat, the overnight retreat. And so we have
Mhm.
bonding. There's a fun series of exercises, and there's a team
Yeah.
name and a whole, it's really fun. And then that's the group that you'll be with for the
Okay.
pitch, the group
Okay.
project where you make a pitch for a conference
Yes.
session. That's that same group that does that work together. That's later in the cohort experience that they start working on that, and then the pitches come
Okay.
later on. But yeah, it's fun.
Okay.
That's something that we didn't have so I was in cohort
No,
1.
we
We didn't
didn't.
have small
Yeah.
groups, and it was
Yeah.
feedback that was received from cohort 1 that, hey, it would have been nice to have small groups. And so that came in play in cohort 2 and ever since. So that's the sort of
Yeah.
thing I'd like to say too, is every year we refine the academy curriculum, some of
Mhm.
the format for it, even
Mhm.
the kickoff overnight retreat. We've refined that over the last few years to
And there is a good
better.
question here about whether the funds go for. So we do fund the lodging for the retreat, right?
Yes.
We fund the, the meals and everything. You fund a speaker to come in to do the leadership assessment.
Yes, we pay for, yeah.
Yeah, so there are some trainers that we have to pay for. There are sometimes so the in-person is the overnight retreat, right? At the very
Mhm.
kickoff. And then it's all on Zoom after that. And then there's the graduation where we bring everyone together again. And so typically sometimes that's funding the facility, it's funding the catering, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
But
the plaques as graduation, some things that people
yeah.
get, at the end. Yeah, speaker fees along the way and materials that might.
So this question this is interesting. I'm in a larger agency, but there aren't funds for the scholarship since my current position is not a leadership position. If you see a larger agency on my application, is that taken into consideration for a scholarship? Interesting. Does that make sense?
It does. I would say apply for a scholarship and just tell
Yeah.
your story. So
Yeah.
the application includes, do you need a scholarship? Yes or no? And then there's a little field and you can just explain it. And then,
Mhm.
submit your application. Again, like that's not something we look at as part of the recruitment process, but we look at it after the cohort has
After.
been selected.
Okay.
And then I will be in touch with you and we'll have conversations. So you'll be asked to confirm. If you're accepted, then you're asked to
Mhm.
confirm. And then there's one more time where it's like, okay, you're confirming and committing to come. And if you want to defer, tell us now, type of thing. And then, what scholarship level do you need? And then I just do a matching of, like I mentioned before, WCMA, AWC, we have Holman, we have a sponsor, and we have some dollars to work, but it's not unlimited. We have only so many dollars. And so making sure we meet
Okay.
people's needs. And I would just work with if that person was accepted, and then they
You would
did
work with
meet,
them.
just work with you and
Okay.
see and kind of prioritize. It is, to Julie's point, looking at those kind of tiny towns first, and
Yeah.
but I would say don't let that be a deterrent. And I believe you. I think there are some agencies big agencies sometimes don't have training funds. So
That's right. That's right. So we're up on our hour. So Prinz has put in the chat. So check it out. We have a fun walk and talk dine this Saturday. Come join us. I know I plan to be there in Oak Harbor. It's going to be a fun day. Our Academy graduate, Sabrina Combs, city administrator, is hosting us for a fun event. And then our next Lunch and Learn webinar is on May 20th. I'm so excited about this one because this is about transitions. You are transitioning Maybe in the case of Catherine Caffey, who is one of our panelists, she moved from Texas to Washington, like big transition. Diane Carlson, the Bellevue city manager, she was the deputy city manager and she transitioned to city manager. And then Marty Wine, also, she has a couple transitions. She went to Tigard, Oregon, and then came back to Washington as city administrator for Tukwila. So sign up for that. That's going to be a great panel, and it's being moderated by Melanie Harding. She is the executive director for MRSC. So join us for that. Thank you all for attending, and best of luck on your application.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck.
Thank you.
So much.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah, thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks, Prinz. All right.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks, Katie. Thanks, friends.